The important word there is accurate. I would argue that's not necessarily an accurate or perfectly valid assessment of either the student or the school. It's a useful assessment of the school. In other words, it gives you an aggregate sense of what all the students in a school is doing, so you can get an overall sense of the performance of a school based on these standardized tests. But it's not necessarily a overly useful assessment of the individual students. It doesn't necessarily give you information about what the child still needs to learn. It doesn't necessarily drive curriculum. And worst off, by the way in which we get the test, the kid gets tested in the spring, and then they could be in a different school in a different classroom the next fall when they get the actual score. So it's very hard to use the assessment to then improve instruction for a particular child. So I would say that it's not a very accurate or useful assessment for the student. It is a useful one for the school overall to give a broad sense of the progress in their curriculum. Testing of any type always brings up many issues about the quality of the test, the validity of the test. But in terms of having an overall omnibus test of what kids should learn at 4th grade, 5th grade, 10th grade is useful in terms of getting point-in-time comparisons both within a particular district and between districts to some degree. How we use that, though, is very important, not to use it to punish schools and teachers or children, but to find ways to get them the resources that they need so that we can improve the quality of education for all children. That's the best use of standardized testing, rather than this constant drumbeat about the failures of American education, the failures of particular schools, or how Massachusetts is not doing as well in New Jersey, vice versa. It's a really unuseful way of using standardized tests, and also is attributing to those tests more value than they actually have. But as a way of point-in-time understanding of where we may be on particular measures, they're helpful if we use them to drive improvements in our curriculum and making sure that quality of curriculum and quality teachers are in every kid's classroom. I think the larger scale that you look at, the harder it is to really get useful information. So I think the type of information we want to know by district, by school, by district, then by state, are things like attendance rate, dropout rate, retention, progress towards college, how many kids graduate from a particular school district or state that go on to get family supporting jobs. Those are the real metrics. And then if you're failing at getting family supporting jobs, sending a high percentage of your kids on to next level of education, then you go back within the particular schools and districts to find out what's failing in their curriculum, what's not happening. Is it a low level of quality teacher in every classroom? Is it inappropriate curriculum for the students? Those are the type of data that I would use much more than these global assessments and it's only testing in math and English. There are many subjects that kids take in schools that don't get tested that also are important for people's professional aspirations. Starting in the Bush administration, we developed a federal policy that all children should undergo high-stakes testing as a way of getting a global sense of their performance and the school's performance. And that has become known as No Child Left Behind. So where it helps us is that by getting a sense of the whole school performance in particular areas, you get a sense of where weaknesses in curriculum may be, where you may have ineffective teaching, or where you have children with higher needs that may need more resources to perform. So the value of this high-stake testing is that it gives you a point-in-time measure of a school's performance and a district's performance, so that you can look and see what other needs they may have in order to serve the needs of the children in their district.